I knew it would happen. I knew one day it had to eventually happen. They had to make a good video game movie, and all it took was them to make a movie based on a video game that doesn't actually exist. I'm calling it a win for now, but, we're here to talk about Wreck-It Ralph. I've got Michelle with me.
Hello.
I've got Sean with me.
I am here.
And we have each seen Wreck-It Ralph, and as you can tell, very enthusiastic about that. But yeah, let's just start off. Wreck-It Ralph is a movie by Disney that is especially about this video game, which is based on the original Donkey Kong, Fix-It Felix Jr. And the villain is this guy, Ralph, who climbs to the top of a building and starts throwing things down at guys he's trying to fix it. But it's kind of this Toy Story-esque kind of story in which, after everybody goes home from the arcade, the characters come to life, and they live in their own little electronic worlds inside the arcade machines. And Ralph, he's been at this for 30 years, and he's tired of being a wrecker. He's tired of being the bad guy. He wants a piece of pie, he wants some medal, he wants some respect, he wants someone to like him. So he decides to go out into other video games and start seeing if he can, be the hero in them. But the problem is that, this is a no-no when it comes to video games. If you go into another game, you can screw it up. You could end up getting, your own game destroyed. So this is kind of the story of Ralph, trying to figure out who he is, trying to stop being a villain, trying to get respect, but at the same time, just doing what his name says. He is wrecking everything, and as he goes through the game, the majority of the movie focuses on him in a certain game called Sugar Rush, which is a racing game in a candy world, where he meets Vanellope,
Vanellope von Schweetz or something like that.
Vanellope von Schweetz is what it was, and who's played by Sarah Silverman, who's this spunky, childlike character, kind of annoying, jumps all over the place, full of energy. And she's playing Vanellope von Schweetz, who is this childlike character who jumps all over the place. Really, nobody knew where I was going with that joke? Alright, whatever.
So Sarah Silverman playing herself.
Yes, and John C. Reilly is playing the big oafish character who just wants love.
So John C. Reilly is playing himself.
And Jack McBrayer is in there as the lovable, pure-hearted, but kind of stupid, country bumpkin. And then we have Jane Lynch in there as the hard-as-nails woman. I'm not saying they should have done this live action, but they totally could have if they wanted to.
I think they just ran out of money trying to, buy all the video game, copyrights, so I don't think they really could afford, doing live action and animation.
Live action's way cheaper than animation.
Do you know how many furries are readily available to dress up as Sonic for a movie shoot? I don't know that many.
Oh, God. I think that was what convinced them to not do this as live action, is the open casting calls. I am here to play Zangief. You're like 500 pounds, man. Why'd you come in costume?
It'd be better if it wasn't live action then, but it works well this way.
But yeah, what do you guys think of the movie? What's the initial impression that you guys had? It's, this was very much hyped up as being the video game movie because, as we mentioned, this movie has got video game characters from so many different franchises, which you will recognize if you're 30 and up. This is not, there weren't a lot of new characters out there. I mean, they had Tapper, they had Frogger, they had Dig Dug. Not, everybody's talking about, oh man, they must have spent a fortune on all these licenses. Not really. The most expensive character in here is probably Sonic, and Sonic will work for appearance fees. That is what Sonic is up to these days.
Well, it's better than starring in Sonic Unleashed 4.
So Sonic is in there, and then also they've got, who else was the most expensive after that? Probably the Street Fighter characters had to be the most expensive.
More than likely. I mean, that was pretty cool just seeing, M. Bison there just being intimidating and all.
M. Bison, and I love that, for Zangief, they did not get the voice actor from the games, but for M. Bison, Ken, Ryu, they got the actual voice actors from the games, which I was impressed.
Every character or every video game character in the movie that had a voice actor, they reprised their roles. So like Sonic's VA was there, the Street Fighter characters. They mentioned a couple others too that they definitely had voices, the actual voices working for them.
Actually, aside from Sonic, M. Bison, Ken, Ryu, I don't think any other characters had voices in there that were like actual characters. Because I mean, there's like in the trailer, it looks like Kano's in there, but then I was like, and this is why I'm saying they didn't spend as much money as you think they did, because I was watching the trailer and went, oh, Kano from Mortal Kombat is in this, and except I kept going, why does Kano have a robotic arm in this? Kano doesn't have a robot arm in Mortal Kombat, and then I was sitting through the credits, and nobody in the credits is listed as Kano, but there is someone listed as Cyborg.
Yeah.
Which made me go, they kind of fudged the numbers a bit on this. They took a few shortcuts.
Well, I mean, if you look at a picture of Kano, like from the last game, he kind of has a robot arm, as well as the fact that you can't, like, say, oh yeah, Kano does that one thing from that one video game where he performs one of his fatalities on another character. I mean, you can't say that it's not Kano. Everyone was saying it's Kano.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. It was Kano except for the appearance fees. Yeah, they did not pay, it was the breakfast cereal that you get in the bag at the bottom underneath the regular cereal version of Kano. That's what we had in there. But yeah, I love seeing all that there in the beginning, which is one of my problems with this game. One of my problems with this movie is that the first like 10 minutes of this movie is just appearances. You make this big elaborate world, and the trailers make this seem like this is going to be Who Framed Roger Rabbit for video games. And the first 10 minutes of it kind of is. But then, as soon as Ralph decides to start going to these other games, you never see anyone else, which is fine by me, because I did not want this, I know a lot of people had a big problem with them just disappearing. I didn't have a problem with those characters just disappearing, because to me, this should be Ralph's movie. This should not be, I'm glad he went to the racing game Sugar Rush, which they created just for this movie, rather than going to, like, the Mario Kart world, because then it would just be Mario Kart the movie. I'm glad that they, left most of the appearances behind. But, in those first, 10 minutes of this, they set up this huge, elaborate world inside the arcade system. And then the moment that he gets to Sugar Rush, I didn't even realize this until, a day after I saw it. The moment that they get to Sugar Rush, they never go anywhere but Sugar Rush. That is the entire rest of the movie, is there in Sugar Rush.
Well, considering the plot line, they don't really have a choice.
And that's kind of... I realize that they didn't really have much of a choice, but, I kind of compare it to, say, Thor. Remember when Thor came out? A lot of people had problems that, you see Asgard, and it's big, and it's impressive, and it's spectacular, and then Thor goes to Earth, and I know a lot of people were like, oh man, I wanted to stay in Asgard. I didn't have a problem with that, because the story needs us to be on Earth. I'm glad with that. I like that. But they kept cutting back to other characters out there in Asgard. You kept seeing, little bits developing, so you still kind of got that taste. In this, it's, you see this big, spectacular world, and then it goes to Sugar Rush, and, it never even cuts away for any purpose.
Well,
it never even...
I was going to say, you make the comparison earlier between this and, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that's been a big comparison, but then you got to think about it. In Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you had that first 10 minutes of all the cartoon characters meeting and interacting in the studio. The rest of the movie was Bob Hoskins, Roger Rabbit, and then all those characters created for the movie. And, you only have the last 5 minutes in Toon World or whatever it was. So... I'm not saying that, once again, I'm not saying that I wanted to keep seeing cameo appearances. Like I said, I'm fine with them, only having the cameo appearances mostly up there at the beginning. But, in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, they are going to different locations. And they are going, to different locations trying to find this mystery. In this one, they go to Sugar Rush. And Sugar Rush is big and spectacular. But that's it. Once they get to Sugar Rush, that's the remaining 2/3 of the movie. All of Act 2 and all of Act 3 is Sugar Rush.
I heard, in Japan the movie isn't even called Wreck-It Ralph. It's called Sugar Rush.
Really?
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Well, yeah. In the end credits, you hear the theme for Sugar Rush, which they made, and it is a very J-poppy song. So it would not surprise me if they sold this as like Vanellope von Schweetz being the main character in this in Japan. But yeah, it's it's not that I dislike Sugar Rush. It's just that I dislike a little bits of it. But when you get to Sugar Rush, there's all these candy puns and all these like candy rules. It's basically like Candyland the movie. And I mean, in the beginning, I was like, okay, the candy puns are good because it's like setting up what the reality of this game is like. But I mean, there gets to like a point in which there's like a Nestle quicksand joke, and I just went, oh, it made me realize that this has become the Candyland movie. And I was like, this is supposed to be a game about video game characters, which they still have video game stuff in Sugar Rush. Like, they have a mini game in there, which I really dug. I like seeing that.
They also had a Portal reference in there too. Like, I think, what was it? Vanellope calls, what's his name, Wreck-It Ralph Gladys at one point. It's like, come on Gladys, let's do this. And it was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't take that as a Portal reference. I just thought it was calling by a girl's name.
No, I forgot what the context was, but people were saying, oh, look, they're referencing Portal right there. And,
oh, cool. I'll have to watch for that again.
It's like I can't wait till this comes out on Blu-ray and DVD so you can like pause and like see all the references that we missed.
There's tons of that's the thing. Is like I was saying in the very first 10 minutes, it is so many things in there, and that's just kind of why I felt that they kind of just blew their load a little too early on that. They put so much up there at the beginning, and then after that, it's this story about Wreck-It Ralph in Sugar Rush. And, the story of Wreck-It Ralph in Sugar Rush is fine, but it's like, you showed me this big, huge thing, and then went, okay, now you're going to this. It's like, well, but I want to play in the big, huge thing! The big, huge thing is there!
Honestly, probably would have been cool, or probably better to balance the whole Sugar Rush thing out would be, like, since you mentioned earlier, the whole premise of the movie is Ralph trying to prove himself as a hero. It would have been great to see him in other games, like see him in Street Fighter trying to fight M. Bison, or in Pong trying to battle the paddles, something like that. Just kind of like a montage of him going into other games to try.
Well, yeah, exactly, like a montage, like just a little tiny montage thing would have been nice. I mean, they give a reason why Ralph can't leave Sugar Rush, but I mean, there is like one moment. Like, after you've been in Sugar Rush for an entire hour of the movie, there is like this 1-2-minute long scene out of Sugar Rush. I mean, it literally was like I just went, like, it was like, oh, right, there's other stuff here. Like, I mean, and once again, Sugar Rush looks great. And I mean, it's very neat little world that they've created there. But yeah, you go in there, are given this big slice of, you go in there, it's like, it's basically kind of like walking into a candy factory, I guess is the best way to sum it up, which is a weird way of making this metaphor. Very appropriate. But it's like you go into a candy store, and you see all these different things, and you want to get like a little sample bag with everything in there. You go, all right, here's 5 chocolate bars. Like, all right, these are, I like chocolate, that's good, but man, look at everything else you got in here. Can't you just take like one of these out here and give me like one other different thing in there? And I guess that's the best way I can sum up my feelings about. But I mean, aside from that, yeah, it's I really like the characters that are in this film. I love Ralph. He's a great character. Jack McBrayer, I joked about him being kind of like a country bumpkin, and yeah, there are moments where where there are lines that they must have written for Jack McBrayer because he's so known as the country bumpkin guy. But aside from that, he's not really playing his normal self. It's not Kenneth the Page in the video game world.
A good thing I saw, I forgot where I saw it, but basically it's like he acts like that because that's how he was written back in the 1970s, 1980s. As of like when he's interacting with, I think her name was Sergeant Calhoun. That was Jane Lynch's character.
Oh yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, like so when he's interacting with her, it's like, oh my god, you're in high definition. You're so beautiful.
That I love the high definition joke. That was good.
And it's him interacting as a 1970s character, going like Jolly Gallagher's Gee Whiz versus like a character who's just kind of more balls to the wall, so to speak.
That's understandable, yeah.
It's kind of funny just to see the comparison between the two of them because it's an old school versus new school thing. Especially, there's that one scene in the. I know you groaned at the Nest quicksand, but you got to admit the interaction between Lynch and
the interaction
was
between them
hilarious.
in that scene saves it. The characters constantly save any problems that I have with this. Because I love the character interactions. Like, even though I was getting real sick of sticking around in Sugar Rush all that time, I love seeing Wreck-It Ralph grow so close with Vanellope. And, like, Sarah Silverman, I've always been one of those, like, I think Sarah Silverman is a good comedic actress. But when I heard she was going to be, like, playing a kid, I'd never really seen her. Yeah, she's known for being kind of childish, but I've never really seen her do a character like that. So I was a little bit nervous. And yeah, there's a lot of scenes where, and this is solely just the writer's fault. It's not, I'm not putting this on Sarah Silverman herself, but there's a lot of moments in which they're like, all right, we're going to make her spunky and also kind of like have an attitude. And they go to 11, and I wanted them to tone it back just a little bit. But then there are other moments where Vanellope actually acts like a little kid, and Sarah Silverman totally pulls up. Like, I was totally buying. That's a little kid up there on screen. And, you've got Wreck-It Ralph, who's this giant monster of a man, and it's a great interaction between the two of them. I was reading a couple of complaints that some people had, and they were like, why did they have to go to this kids' land? Like, they put this in here just for kids, just to get the kids to like this movie. I was like, okay, first off, this is a movie about video games. Kids would come no matter what. But it's important that Ralph goes to a land full of cuteness and little kids, because, yeah, he is a bad guy trying to become a hero. And yes, the Grinch has to go to Whoville and meet Cindy Lou, and yeah, he has to, find the little kid that warms his heart. I mean, that's kind of how I saw this as. And so yeah, I had no problem with them going to like a very kiddie land, not to mention kids play video games too, old people. And yeah, Ralph is not going to find his heart in Resident Evil. He's not going to find his heart fighting the Umbrella Corporation. Or in Grand Theft Auto. I like that he had to go to this world. Yeah, what were you about to say, Sean?
No, I was saying that in terms of like the world, it was hilarious just to me where he's introduced. He's like, "Where am I? What is this? Sugar Rush? Damn it! Why am I in Sugar Rush?"
Yeah,
that's his first reaction. He's like, "Oh man, this stupid go-kart game next to the whack-a-mole."
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was very cool too. But yeah, we joked about how these actors didn't really have to stretch far, but John C. Reilly, there's more stretching than you'd think, and I really like that. And I think everybody pulled off. Like I said, Sarah Silverman was able to play the little kid role, but John C. Reilly was also able to play the kind of like, he is a little bit of a jerk. I mean, not by me like an understandable jerk. You root for him. He's a jerk because he's been treated like a jerk for 30 years. Which makes him very relatable. I mean, it'd be hard for anybody to maintain a positive attitude for that long. What do you think of the animation in this?
I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, a lot of people like the fact that, and I like this too, that characters sometimes moved or interacted in the way that they would act in the video games. Like,
that's
for
so good.
example,
Like the little chicken nugget dudes from the Fix-It Felix world. Those, I love how they move. They each had this little, like, I don't even know how they did that. That is so good how they did the little, like, jerky motions like an 8-bit game.
Well, to me, it looked like it was just CGI, but more of like if CGI was stop motion, because that's basically what it looked like.
Kind of, yeah. You're right.
Because,
yeah, it's like they cut out a few certain frames in order to to get the for the character to like jump from one area to another so quickly without any in between animations. That's
yeah. But yeah, but you have to be a very skilled animator to pull that off, to make sure that you pull the exact right amount out each time to get that jerkiness.
Well, it's a good thing that Pixar now makes movies in November.
Yes. I've been kind of dominating this whole thing. Michelle, you're the big animation fan. What do you have to say about the movie?
Well, it was a great movie overall to me.
Is your name Michelle?
What the fuck? All right.
I swear I heard Sean.
The end of Shell does sound like Sean, I guess. Well, yeah, I mean, we've both been dominating this a lot, but mostly me. Michelle, what do you think? And then, yeah, well, Sean, you already started. So go ahead.
No. Michelle first. You could take this part out.
All right.
Michelle first.
The visuals are amazing. I absolutely love the visuals, and like, you know, it's, I know you complain about like the sugar rush, but like that also has like a lot of like intricate details as well. Like, oh, that character is this candy, or like that tree is supposed to be this, you know, baked good or whatever. And it's like, and you know, it's not just like the video game character cameos. It's also the original artwork and the original designs that are put into this huge world, and it's really great. I really love how it's like all connected and everything. Like even though you have all these different characters, like you have like little pixelated characters from like the old video games, and you have like the new more graphic characters from the more advanced games. They still they still mesh together very, very well, and I really like that, you know.
Yeah, it's a tone that strikes with the generation gap, I think, works very well. I mean, there's that moment in the trailer that really sold me on this movie, when Wreck-It Ralph was saying, you know, he says, when did video games become so violent and scary? And I like seeing, like, you know, the variations in these characters meshing together, but that's more like a, not really like animation, but I mean more of just like a writing and a storytelling aspect of it. What do you think of, like, all the little details that they put in? Because that was something that I was really noticing there in the beginning. When they get to Sugar Rush, once again, they kind of just stick to the rules of Sugar Rush. But I love when they were in, like, Fix-It Felix Jr., and there's a scene where some food gets splattered around. And I was looking at that, and all the food, when it's whole, looks normal, but when it's splattered, it's pixelated.
Yeah,
and
pixelated splatters, I saw that one.
It's little stuff like that I really dug about that.
Yeah, it's like, there's also like, several like visual gags too, like not just like random character cameos. Like there's like one scene when they were like entering like a Game Central Station, obviously upon on Grand Central Station, and there's like graffiti on the walls, and it's like it said Aerith lives, and it says like all your base are belong to us, and I really dug that. So
yeah, I really dig little things like that, and that's another reason why I kind of like, I think it bugged me so much that they stuck just with Sugar Rush all that time, because like I was saying with what was it, with Felix Jr., when they had the little like cake exploded and like the little pixels all around. Like I said, Sugar Rush has its own set of rules when it comes to its animation, and the game he goes into before that, Hero's Duty, has its own little designs and rules and themes when it came to the animation. I would love to have seen them do more. Like, you know, once again, not saying cameos. I didn't want to see him go into, you know, certain games and then he takes on the style of that game. But, like, you know, create a third game. And I think a lot of that is kind of like, you know, it's my problem with them sticking with Sugar Rush so much is kind of twofold, I think. One being that I think the brain is just naturally, oh god, what's what I'm looking for? Predetermined or predisposed to anticipate the rule of threes. And this only gives us those two games. But, you know, I've seen other rules where they break the rule of threes. I've seen other movies where they've broken the rule of threes. God damn, I gotta stop calling this a game. Where they've broken the rule of threes, and I haven't really had a problem with it, because I think they kind of sold me on not doing three. In this one, it was like, in this one, and this is my other kind of problem with it, is that, you know, in the first act of the movie, they've got him at Game Central Station, they've got him, you know, interacting with the other characters, they have him going to the bar, they have him in his own game, they have him in Hero's Duty. All that's in the first act, and then the second and third act is all Sugar Rush. So I think it's that they jam so much into that first act, where they could have spread out a little bit more. And I think so. It's kind of like a timing, like a pacing thing. But yeah. Anyway, I'm going on so much about my problem with Sugar Rush, and really, honestly, I like the world of Sugar Rush. It's just I thought it was a pacing problem there, and also just they needed to break up the world of Sugar Rush and show us a little bit more beyond that. Which I'm sounding like I really just did not like this movie because of Sugar Rush, but there are so many things that I do feel positive about this film. Speaking of the pacing and such, you know, yeah, the second act, it kind of got on my nerves how long they were just staying in Sugar Rush, and then the third act is all that, but the third act, I think that's the strongest act. The third act really blew me away. I mean, the third act starts off around when, there's a moment where there's an argument between two characters, and it's something that happens in so many movies that I, called it coming. I knew they were going to do it. And when it got to it, I was like, alright, let's get this scene over with. And yet, they make it so dramatic. I was feeling hurt. I was like, this is almost this hurts me to watch this scene, this argument that's going on. And then there was a moment there in, the last few minutes of the film that really, I was like, okay, this is pretty dramatic, and then they do, one thing, which I won't say what they do, but they do, one thing that just, I felt like that tingle inside me that I feel whenever I watch a truly powerful moment. But yeah, the third act, I think, is easily the strongest of this. And yeah, the third act takes place all in Sugar Rush, no problems with it. But yeah, so once again, it's not so much once they kind of kicked it up there, I had no problem with the world of Sugar Rush. But, at that point, I had so figured out, yeah, okay, world of Sugar Rush, that's where we're staying. I'll sit and deal with it. But yeah, anything else anybody wants to throw out there about the film?
What did you think about the short in front of it, Paperman?
Yeah, I was wondering whether or not we should talk about that, because, for anybody who doesn't see this in theaters, I don't know if they'll be able to see Paperman, but...
I'm sure it'll be on the DVD or Blu-ray.
If it is, I'd buy a Blu-ray just for that. It's 2 minutes long, and god damn is it amazing.
It is.
That is, Pixar has always been known for doing really amazing shorts. This is by Disney, Pixar had nothing to do with this short.
Well, John Lasseter was behind it.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the Pixar name on it, and it blows
but it explains why it's good.
Yeah, exactly, and it blows all those Pixar shorts out of the water, in my opinion. This is easily the strongest short I've ever seen Disney do. And I'm a fan of 2D animation, and it seems like so many theaters and studios are trying to go solely to 3D, and I've been hoping that somebody could figure out a way to get 2D back in there. And I look at this, and it's this combination of 2D and 3D. I just went, God damn it, they got it. That is it. Mm-hmm. They figured it out. It is beautiful. Beautiful, touching, funny. It's all that. The Paperman short isn't going to affect my grade that I give Wreck-It Ralph at the end.
Right, because they're two separate things.
But yeah, if I had to give Paperman a review, that would be A+. That's one of those ones in which, like I say, sometimes there are movies that are so bad that you just can't say D or F because it doesn't get the passion out there. This is one of those ones that's so good I can't just say A+ because it would not express how much I like this. I gotta think of something better than A+ to give Paperman, because it's that good. But yeah, Wreck-It Ralph. But yeah, speaking of grades, I guess we're running a little bit towards the end here. Anybody wants to throw out there before they give their review? Their score.
Just for the fact that I think Michelle mentioned this earlier, just the attention to detail. Only because there's this one scene that just kind of made me laugh because of how well they were able to put things in the background. There's this one scene where Ralph is running through the Game Central station.
I know what you're about to say. Yeah, that's so good.
And he accidentally just bumps into Sonic, and Sonic just explodes into rings.
Right. I love that.
It's just amazing how well they could put stuff in the background and have all these characters interacting with another. I saw Chun-Li walking around with Cammy. You see all these bad guys at the bad anonymous meeting. And honestly, with me, I don't care how bad or good a movie is, so long as the writing is solid.
Right.
The writing in this movie is the kind of writing I would go see the movie again, just for the story itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking of comparing this to Hotel Transylvania, which was the last because to me they were very similar in some ways in that Hotel Transylvania and Wreck-It Ralph are both kind of mashups of things that people love from the past, and done with very quick and lighthearted, very quick comedic animation. But Wreck-It Ralph, you're right. The writing on this hits pretty much everyone. It hits everyone, and it does have that impact to it. There's one more thing that I'll say. If you have a fear of clowns, I might tell you to skip this movie, though, as good as we're saying, because I won't say what, but there is some monster in this movie at one point, and I was just like, holy fuck, if I was a kid, I would never want to see clowns again for my life.
Also, in Hero's Duty, they pretty much fight giant evil bugs. So if you have a fear of bugs, you might want to step away a little bit.
Well, those are like those. I don't know, but like the clown thing, that was Jesus Christ. I think it was freaking me out, and I don't have a fear of clowns.
That was pretty messed up.
That was like, yeah, exactly. It's like there's a monster in there, and I won't say where in the movie. I will not say where it is in the movie, but yeah, there is a clown monster in there that was just like, holy cripes! That's, I mean, it comes out of nowhere too. But yeah. Man, and you mentioned the story. That is something I want to point out, is that there are, like I mentioned, I called the argument that was coming because it happens in every film like this. However, there are like two little, plot twists in here that, I know someone out there is going to go, oh, well, I called that going in. Hey, I see lots of movies. I'm a fairly smart guy. I had no idea that those twists were coming. Like, I mean, they really hit me. Like, I was like, holy crap. So,
well, like even the worst thing is like they'll set you up with a certain kind of hint at the beginning of the movie, and you're like, by the time you get to those twists, you're like, oh yeah, I don't remember that, and then all of a sudden, bam! I'm like, holy crap, that actually mattered.
Yeah. All right. What grade should you guys give it? Grade, stars, whatever you want to do.
I give it an A, not an A plus, because like you said, it does drag a bit in Sugar Rush, but yeah, a solid A.
John?
I can't help but to disagree. I mean, people across the board have been loving this movie, despite the fact that, again, kind of the biggest complaint is what you mentioned, the prolonged second and third act in that one setting. But other than that, it gets an A.
I agree with you guys. I'm going to give it like an A minus. Like, I mean, the ending is so strong. I really want to give it an A too, but like, I have to kind of just stop myself and go, no. Remember your complaints about it. And yeah, so I'm going to go A minus, but yeah, it's definitely a very strong contender for, at this point, it's one of the contenders for my favorites of the year. Not favorites of the year, but like top 10. But yeah, it's a definite thing that you have to buy when it comes out on DVD.
I can't wait to get the Art of Wreck-It Ralph books.
The Art of Wreck-It Ralph books, yeah. I can't wait for this.
Watch the DVD play like a video game where, like, you'll have to beat the level in order to actually watch the movie.
There's going to be one really pissed off old guy who's like, goddamn newfound Blu-rays, like it's the first Blu-ray they ever get, and they're like, what the hell happened? Why can't I just go back to VHSs? They were so simple back then. You just hit fast forward. Now I have to fight a boss and throw little bricks down. I just want to watch the movie.